Let's go to question number 14. This is from Ragnar Lubrock. I'm an ex-Catholic, but I'm getting pulled back in. I don't know why, but I just like praying in Latin. The Rosary, saint prayers, and having like scripted prayers because I don't know how to pray on my own. So Ragnar, it's interesting that you're, I mean, on two sides, like, I just think it's like fascinating that this is the process you're going through. And on the other side, like, I'm like, hey, you're a real person who's really actually considering embracing a lot of false theology and a false system because you like the way it feels. Not even the truth of it, right? I like praying in Latin. I like the Rosary. I like, you said saint prayers, so I'm assuming you mean like praying to saints, and you like scripted prayers. But let me give you a biblical example that might help. When the people of Israel left Egypt, in the book of Exodus, Moses brings them out of Egypt, and then he goes up the mountain to receive the commandments from God, right? And the people, they have just been delivered from Egypt. They watched the 10 plagues on the Egyptians. They witnessed all this stuff. They saw God destroy Pharaoh's army in the flood, right? In the parting of the sea and in the crashing of it together again. They know that God didn't just show his might over Egypt, but he showed his truthfulness against the false religious beliefs of the Egyptians. So that is the 10 plagues all targeted different gods the Egyptians worshipped. So he tells them, yeah, don't be like that, right? So they leave. Now the problem is that a lot of the Egyptian practices and religious practices had bled into the Israelites' culture as well, and they were engaging in many of the ungodly pagan practices that were going on in Egypt. So when they cross the sea, they've seen all these miracles. They've seen God distinguish himself from those other false gods. And what do? They take all the gold that they've gotten from the Egyptians. They give it to Aaron and they say, make us a god that we can worship. Moses is up the mountain. Aaron builds the golden calf and he goes, this is your God that delivered you from Egypt. Why on earth did these people, after God's incredible deliverance, go right back to a false idol? Well, one of the reasons had to be because it was just in the comfort zone. It was just in the comfort zone. It was like, hey, this is what we're used to. We're just going to do what we're used to. God then in the laws, he distinguishes these things by saying, do not worship me the way that they worship their gods. Right? This is one of the lessons the Israelites had to learn. And if you look at how bad they were at it, you realize this is, I'm not saying that it's parallel to your story, but I'm saying there's a lesson to learn in it. They were really bad at not just bringing those ungodly practices back into their lives because they liked the comfort and the familiarity and the ritual of it all. So they rebuilt the high places over and over again throughout the history of Israel. They rebuild these high places, these pagan places. They keep trying to add other gods to God because the pagans were always many gods, right? Like not just one, don't limit yourself. And they add other weird practices on top. And so God gives them specific instructions of how they're to behave. And they keep trying to incorporate more and more of these pagan practices into their religious stuff. What I'm suggesting is that this might be a red alert to us that when you come out of something that has been your historic religious practice, you will very likely be pulled back into it merely out of habit and comfort. I hate to say it this way, but Ragnar, I think that part of it is the same reason why I like some unhealthy food that I've always ate when I was a kid. Right? Like I've said this before recently, don't know why I'm saying it again, but bologna, right? Like regular mustard, mayo, some like American cheese and like white bread, like Wonder Bread. Like that is, for some reason, this like takes me back to my childhood, this exact sandwich. It's not really that good, but it's just the familiarity and the nostalgia and the comfort that's there. So let's look again at the practices, because you are not even talking about wanting to go get pulled into Catholicism because of the theology. But the practices you're doing, some of them are innocuous and some are actually theologically important. So let's run through the list. You said you like praying in Latin. Dude, pray in Latin all you want. That is not a Catholic, like this is just like, anybody can pray in any language they want, right? Like there's nothing that's specifically Catholic about that. It's not tied to specific theology. It is connected a little bit to the fact that Latin became the sort of like official biblical language for Catholicism, and the services were in Latin up until recently. Even when the people didn't speak Latin, the services were in Latin. There was people going to services all the time in Catholic gatherings where they wouldn't understand what was happening because Latin was the language of the educated, and now it's the language of almost nobody. But yeah, then the official Bible of the Catholic Church was Jerome's Latin translation. So there's Latin. That's why Latin has been seen as important there historically. But it's not a big deal if you want to pray in Latin. I don't know how well you know Latin. It might hinder your prayers. You might feel better, but you're feeling better about praying in Latin. It's not because God understands you better, not because God prefers Latin. He didn't write the Bible in Latin. There's nothing religiously good about Latin. The best thing about Latin is it's a dead language, so that terms don't change their meaning because it's not being actively used that much, and so that it can be used for technical things. That's nice. That's why scholars often use Latin. People who give names to birds and bugs and stuff, they use Latin because it's dead language, which has benefits. The other thing you like is praying the Rosary. I think the Rosary has serious issues because there are theological implications of several elements of the Rosary prayer, not everything. A lot of it. Our Father, pray Our Father. How about you pray that and stop there? Praying to saints, I think that is a significant issue as a Christian to pray to saints. I think that there's a bigger issue than most people today are realizing. It has theological implications. So before you pray the Rosary, ask yourself, as you just like doing it because of habit, ask yourself, am I falling into the trap that the Israelites fell into, where I'm doing it because I like it, how it affects me, but I'm not considering how true it is before God? Is it really honoring God, or am I just tickling my religious funny bone? What's going on here? Praying to saints has theological implications that have problems. Scripted prayers are fine, to a point. Jesus is not against scripted prayers. He's against praying with vain repetitions. That is, you want to pray Our Father? Go for it. You want to pray it 85 times in a row? That's vain repetition. Almost certainly, like, very few people are going to be able to pray that many times in a row and actually mean it every time. So yeah, you can do that. But if I were you, I'd pull those prayers from Scripture and not from other sources where theology might be crammed in that is untrue. Anyway, I pray that you have wisdom there, Ragnar, and that God gives you clarity to understand your prayers, your worship, and your religious practice is not there to make you smile. It is there to make God smile. It is not there to tickle your religious funny bone that has been established through tradition and habit, maybe more than actual theology and beliefs. It is there to serve God. And just like he had to shake the Israelites out of habits that they had gathered and kept wanting to do, maybe that needs to happen in your life.